One of the world's most secretive AI companies just accused a Chinese tech giant of stealing its models, and the evidence suggests it happened hundreds of times over in less than a month. Anthropic, the startup behind Claude, published proof that Alibaba ran what they are calling a brazen, illicit extraction campaign. Now, this wasn't traditional corporate espionage. No hacking, no stolen code, no leaked databases on dark web forums. Instead, Alibaba allegedly hired someone to automatically feed Claude questions, record the responses, and pump that data into their own AI model to make it smarter without doing the research themselves. It's like photocopying a textbook instead of reading and learning, except the textbook is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The scale is staggering. Anthropic documented over 200 extraction attempts in a single week. That's not sloppy testing. That's a coordinated, automated system designed to steal knowledge at machine speed. And here's what matters. Anthropic found the pattern, traced it, and went public with evidence instead of quietly negotiating behind closed doors. This breaks something open in AI development that everyone's been quietly worried about, but nobody wanted to talk about. It's about whether anyone can actually protect the multi-billion-dollar AI models they've spent years building. So who exactly are these companies? Anthropic is a startup founded in 2021 by former OpenAI researchers, and they've quietly become one of the most respected names in AI safety. Their Claude model is genuinely sophisticated, it reasons through problems carefully, and it's notoriously hard to trick into causing harm. That's why it costs millions to develop, and why stealing it matters enormously. Alibaba, on the other hand, is one of China's largest tech conglomerates. They've got fingers in e-commerce, cloud computing, AI research, and plenty else. They've been competing in AI, but they've never quite caught up to leading-edge models from Anthropic and OpenAI. Here's what makes this moment so interesting. Anthropic discovered the extraction campaign and immediately went public instead of staying quiet. They didn't just suspect Alibaba. They published the technical details, the patterns, the timing, the evidence. This is almost unheard of in Silicon Valley, where companies usually settle disputes through lawyers and closed doors. But Anthropic chose transparency, forcing everyone to confront a question nobody wanted to ask. If even a secretive, security-conscious AI startup can't protect its models, who actually can? Let's talk about model distillation, the technique that makes Alibaba's alleged theft possible. Imagine you've spent 5 years and hundreds of millions of dollars training a world-class chess engine. That engine has internalized patterns and strategies from millions of games. Instead of training your own engine from scratch, you could watch yours play thousands of games, record every decision, and teach a new engine to mimic those patterns. The new engine doesn't understand chess deeply, but for most situations, it plays nearly the same. Model distillation works exactly like this. You take a powerful AI model, Claude, and ask it thousands of questions across different topics. Record every response, then train a cheaper, smaller model on those responses. The smaller model learns to approximate the original's thinking without spending years researching. It's like learning to paint by copying Rembrandt instead of attending art school for a decade. Here's the scary part, it actually works brilliantly. A distilled model loses maybe 5 to 20% of quality, but it's vastly cheaper and faster to run. For most commercial applications, that's perfectly good enough. This is why it's so appealing to competitors. You skip the entire research phase and jump straight to having a competitive product. So what exactly did Anthropic catch Alibaba doing? They documented what's called a high-volume extraction attack. Anthropic suspects Alibaba, had access to Claude and set up an automated system that queried it repeatedly with variations of the same prompts, recording every single response. Over 4 weeks, there were more than 200,000 IPI calls from the same group of accounts. That's not a researcher testing something. That's an industrial-scale theft operation running around the clock. Here's how Anthropic caught them. Every query, every response, every interaction leaves a digital fingerprint. Usage patterns, timing, question structure, account age, all of it tells a story. Anthropic's security team noticed clusters of activity that didn't match normal user behavior. The queries were suspiciously diverse, like someone systematically testing Claude's knowledge across every conceivable topic. The accounts were new, the queries were scheduled in patterns, and the scale was enormous. When they traced it back, Everything pointed to Alibaba's infrastructure. Is the evidence airtight? Anthropic published enough technical detail that the security research community is taking it seriously. But the core insight remains. You can't hide industrial-scale theft when you're querying someone else's system continuously. Here's the interesting question. Is what Alibaba did unprecedented? Not really. Companies have been trying to steal AI knowledge for years. The difference is that this is the first time someone's gone public with this kind of detailed evidence. Normally, when a company discovers theft like this, they handle it quietly, send lawyers, negotiate a settlement, sign an NDA, and move on. But Anthropic decided to break that pattern. They didn't hide it. They wanted the world to know. Compare this to other famous corporate theft cases: industrial espionage dragging through courts for years, cybersecurity breaches where companies pay hackers millions in ransom, trade secret theft, prosecuted criminally. What Alibaba did is technically legal in many jurisdictions. They accessed Claude through the legitimate API, which Anthropic offers to paying customers. The terms of service say you can't use it to train other AI models. But proving intent and catching violations has been nearly impossible until now. So this isn't a new problem. It's the first time we've seen it exposed at this scale with this level of technical proof. That changes the conversation immediately. Once everyone knows it's happening and knows how to detect it, the game gets harder for thieves and defenders both. So what does this mean for the future of AI development? It's bleak and optimistic simultaneously. The bleak part: if model distillation works this well, then developing world-class AI might not require massive research budgets anymore. You can steal someone else's research, distill it, and deploy it. That fundamentally changes the economics of AI competition. All the money Anthropic spent on safety research, on alignment, on making Claude thoughtful and harm-aware, all of that gets copied into Alibaba's system without Alibaba paying for any of it. For Anthropic, this is existential. They're trying to build a defensible business model in an industry where the core asset can be stolen at API call scale. The optimistic part: this incident forces the entire industry to confront an uncomfortable truth. AI models deployed on the internet are vulnerable to this kind of attack. Period. No amount of security theater prevents it entirely. Companies must adapt. They must think about designing AI systems that don't transfer knowledge as efficiently, monitoring usage more carefully, and building defenses they couldn't imagine 2 years ago. The bigger implication is about intellectual property in the age of AI. Traditional IP protection assumes you're protecting code or documents. But how do you protect knowledge compressed into floating point weights? So what can companies actually do to protect themselves against distillation attacks? The bad news is there's no perfect defense. The good news is there are strategies that make theft much harder and much more expensive. First, usage monitoring. Track every API call, look for patterns that don't match normal behavior. If someone's running 200,000 queries from a new account asking suspiciously diverse questions, that's a red flag. Second, rate limiting and access controls. Restrict how much a single account or IP can use your model. If you limit severely enough, distillation becomes impractical. Third, response injection. Add subtle variation to responses so stolen outputs can't perfectly reproduce the original. It's like watermarking your knowledge. Fourth, architectural protection. Design your model so it's harder to distill knowledge from. Some researchers experiment with models that lose information when queried certain ways, making them poor distillation targets. Fifth, legal measures. Explicit terms of service banning distillation, watermarking responses, and aggressive legal action when you catch someone. Anthropic is reportedly exploring all these approaches. The broader point is that AI companies now need dedicated security research teams, people whose entire job is attacking and defending AI models. This wasn't necessary 2 years ago. Now it's essential. Here's the headline: AI intellectual property is in crisis. The next few years, you're going to see conflict and innovation around protecting AI models, tracing theft, and building defensible products in this space. This incident is just the beginning. What should you watch for? First, Alibaba's response. Do they deny it, settle quietly, or double down? Second, technical innovation in model security. How do companies redesign systems to make them theft-proof? Third, regulatory changes. Governments might start protecting AI models the way they protect other IP, with new laws and enforcement. And fourth, how this shapes AI competition. If stealing models becomes normalized, the race isn't about building the best AI, it's about stealing it first and iterating fastest. That's a fundamentally different landscape. For companies building AI, your models are targets, and you need to act like it. For researchers, this is a fascinating problem space defining the next decade of AI security. For everyone else, the AI systems you rely on might be distilled copies, and that's going to matter for safety and reliability. Follow for daily deep dives on moments like this that reshape tech and AI.